And here we are. I'm telling you guys right now, this theme song, as much as some of you like it and as much as I like it, I'm ready for a new one. Plus, I have this creative itch to just make something new. Like with my album, it's almost finished and I'm done with all the music production part. And that's my favorite part of making albums, is doing the actual music. Like the writing is cool, recording the vocals is probably my least favorite part because that's what takes the longest, but making the music is the fun part. And so I have all of this energy to do more composing, but I can't because it will slow down the album progress, and the album will take another 2 years to come out because I'll sit here and keep making new tracks and new tracks and new tracks and new tracks. And so I'm like, okay, well maybe if I make a new track and it doesn't make the album, it can just be the theme song for the podcast. I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, I'm ranting. So welcome to the 14th episode of the podcast. And so I know the last episode was a little heavy for some, and I said we'd start having some of those episodes. So I'm glad you're able to ride it out with me. But transparency is always best. And I think, my experience and losing a parent and just sharing it with some of you may have helped some of you who are dealing with something similar, or maybe, just helped you to see things from a different perspective. If you're dealing with somebody or somebody who's dealing with something similar and you're not really exactly sure how to, help them out. So, it is what it is. But anyway, let's get into the rest of my Howard University series. We have one more episode, actually 2 more episodes left on Howard after this episode, because I think the senior episode is going to probably be 2 parts. So right now we are talking about the summer after my junior year going into my senior year, which in my opinion, if I had a least favorite moment at Howard, it was this time period. Like freshman year was kind of rough, but the summer before senior year was just straight torture. It was like, man, everything that could happen, happened. So, long story short, because of some of the foolish choices I made as a freshman and how I didn't follow up to amend those mistakes as a sophomore, I had to pay for them a little bit later down the line. And pretty much, I was a little behind. I wasn't behind because I was failing classes or anything. The problem was I had too many electives and I didn't take enough of the right classes. And that was more so to the fact that I talked about in the freshman and the sophomore episode that I just was pretty much signing up for classes. I knew I was a political science major and I knew I just had to take the political science classes because a lot of times you couldn't get into the classes you needed because they filled up, and sometimes you couldn't get an override. And on top of that, I never went and got my scheme. And if you remember, the scheme was pretty much your schedule or your long-term map out for the full 4 years of what you would need to take and how you would need to go on as far as finishing in 4 years. And because I pretty much did the first 2 years on my own as far as not going along with the scheme, I was pretty close to it, but I probably took about 90% of what was on that scheme, but that other 10% was me just signing up for I took a hip-hop class. I took a lot of diaspora classes and stuff, which some of that was in my scheme, but I took too many of them. And so now I'm on the cusp of almost being behind. And junior year has gone really well, and by switching to School of C, there's also additional classes I need to take for the School of Communication. So I'm like, okay, I can just go into my senior year and do all my classes, but it's gonna be a really, really tight squeeze at the end. Do I want that kind of smoke? Probably not. So I just looked and I was like, you know what? I need to do at least a summer session, because if I can just do 4 or 5 classes in the summer, that can definitely make some wiggle room for any kind of error, because at this rate, I would have needed to take all my classes senior year and have a perfect GPA, don't have any classes that I drop, don't have any classes that I get lower than a C on, anything like that, which didn't really happen, but it was unpredictable. So I was like, you know what, I have to do a summer session, have to. So that entire time period was a struggle. You want to talk about some serious work and wear and tear on the body. My God. So when we go back, my junior year has just ended, and if you heard that episode, you remember me talking about how it was just such a good time. Lots of laughs. I finally found my right circle of friends to run with. Everything was good. Lots of memories. The energy was just great. And when I tell you, junior year went by so fast because it was so much fun. It was just shoo, whoa, yo, it's already senior year. And it's crazy because I still remember freshman year. I remember the first day of my freshman classes. I remember all that. And I'm like, wow, now we're going into the summer and then senior year is about to start. And so during that time, junior year was great. But towards the end, the tide changed because I was also dealing with the breakup. And, relationships can be tough when they go sour and when they don't really go your way. Because, when you have that attachment to somebody and then it's gone boom, like that. And there is literally nothing you can do to bring it back, because at that point, if they're the ones who broke it off, the power is pretty much in their hands to bring it back if they want it. Because once somebody's decided they don't want to be with you or they're done with you, there's not much you can do. I mean, you can try to fight for them, or you can fight and try your best to win them back. But if they're like, I'm out, it's a wrap, see you later, there's not much you can do. And all you can do is sit there in your feelings about it. So towards the end of junior year, I really started going into like a really sad, depressed state. But it wasn't too bad because all of my friends were still around. I was still running the streets, having a good time. However, now junior year has ended. Everybody's moving out of the dorms, and listen, Howard is a ghost town in the summer. Unless, aside from the students that are doing summer sessions, or they also have students that are, doing internships or working, and they can still stay in the dorms. But Howard is another planet in the summer in comparison to the school year. It's a very quiet area. Like when you watch those like action movies and they're in the parking garage and it's just quiet and there's nobody there, and then out of nowhere people start jumping out of the cars and stuff, and you gotta fight like 15 people off. Like that's what Howard reminds you of during the summer, only there's not gonna be anybody jumping out the bushes. It's just quiet. And so, during that summer, I had to figure out a few things. One, I had to figure out what am I doing for housing, because I have housing as a resident assistant. That doesn't mean I get free housing during the summer. And how am I paying for my classes? Because I don't really have any money left. All the money I made from dancing is gone. This is also the first summer where I'm not going to be teaching dance in Seattle anymore. That's it. And now that I have to do a summer session, I got to get that job up as much as I enjoyed it. And that also made me worry because, a lot of the money that I would use to eat and buy, small things here and there with usually came from the money I made from teaching all the competition teams and coaching. So now I got to figure that out. So fortunately, because Boss Man really enjoyed my work, because I also was selected as Resident Assistant of the Year for my junior year because of my hard work in slavery, he had asked me, since I was staying for the summer, would I like to be a conference assistant? And this is what a conference assistant does. A conference assistant is pretty much like a graduate assistant, but during the summer. And so the conference assistant manages all of the student workers that are in the dorm that are working for housing, because at Howard, they will let students live in the dorms as long as they're working for the university. Like, so if there's a student that has an internship at, BET, which is not too far from campus, if a student needs some housing, they can do work for housing in the summer, and, they just have to work maybe a 4-hour shift twice a week. And Howard will let them stay on the dorms for free. I don't know if they still do that anymore, but when I was there, that's what used to happen. And so my job would be to manage all of the student workers who had these internships, or maybe they were taking classes or whatever else they had, and I just had to manage all the schedules for all the student workers who were going to be in the dorm. And fortunately, the work for housing assignment I was given was the same dorm that I was a resident assistant in, so I didn't have to initially leave my room, which was perfect. And so now, I'm still at Meridian, and there's probably, I may have a staff of like 70 work for housing students, maybe a little bit more. So it's me, the other GA Keeney that I used to have to work under during the school year, and this other guy, we forgot his name because he ain't ever do no work and he ain't ever showed up no way. So honestly, I can't remember the boy's name. But anyway, let me just tell you about what my schedule was going to be like. This was the crazy part. So after I finally got all the money and stuff figured out to get registered for these classes, which was an arm and a leg that I really didn't have, and I had to get cussed out because my mom had to help me a bit and everything like that, because, listen, Howard summer sessions are not cheap at all. And so I was taking 5 classes, but what happened was this: I didn't realize that the options were so limited as far as availability with the classes. And so this directly affected how I was going to be doing my work as a conference assistant, and it made me have to work in an unrealistic schedule. So pretty much every day, Monday through Friday at least, for the next 8 weeks, my schedule would go as follows. I would have class at 7 a.m., which meant that I needed to be up by 5 a.m. because in the summer, there's no shuttle going from Meridian to campus. You have to walk, and that's about 8 or 9 blocks. So, I had to be up by 5 at the latest. And really it ended up start being 6 o'clock. You start taking one of them 5-minute showers and be like, the heck with it. And that's when I still had short hair. So it's not like today where I got to be, I got to put the juices and berries and all that stuff in, and that takes a whole 10 minutes in itself. But anyway, my classes started at 7. My classes didn't end till 7. And the reason was because there was a 2-hour break in between each class. And so I was in class from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And unfortunately, because of that 2-hour break in between each class, there wasn't really a lot of time to try to go back to the dorm and take a nap or relax. Plus, nobody wants to walk 8 hours or 8 blocks over and over and over and over. So I'd have to find things to do around campus or in the city until all my classes were done. And so, you'd have a class from 7 to 8, which was volleyball, and I hated that class. I thought it was the stupidest thing, because I'm like, why do you have to take PE in college? And so, you'd have to take volleyball at 7 a.m. from 7 to 8, and then I don't remember what the next class was. I just know it started at 10 and ended at 11. And then the next class started at 1 and ended at 2. Then the next class started at 4. I think it started, just know I got out of class at 7. And then I had to be back at the dorm by 8, because unfortunately I have to work an entire 8-hour shift as a conference assistant. And I was the person that was given the night shift. So then I worked 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. So let me re-explain this one more time. I was in class from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then I worked from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. Monday through Friday for 8 weeks. And you want to talk about some endurance. I don't know how I did it, because I was barely making it, but when I tell you I was drained, that was a struggle. Literally summer was kicking my behind. And so every day was a lot to deal with. Somehow I made this work, and initially I was the idiot who signed up for the night shift, because I thought, okay, I got these 5 classes. I was assuming, or I was under the impression that, I'd probably be in class from maybe, 10 to 2 or something, 10 to 3, maybe even 10 to 4. This is before I even registered for the classes, so I was already locked in on that schedule, because the other guy I know that I think he worked at night, so he had to have the day shift. And then Keeney was already in a graduate program too. So it was we had all balanced everything out. And I didn't mind doing the night shift, because I'm when I was a resident assistant, when we had the night shift anyway, you had to work 8 to 2. So, doing 8 to 4 isn't that much of a difference. I'll be able to handle it. Sure, I can do it. It's nothing. And I totally forgot that, when I had to do that 8 to 2 shift as a resident assistant, it was only once a week, not 5 days a week, after taking classes for 12 hours on and off. And so, unfortunately, I already had my conference assistant schedule in stone, and then when I got my class schedule, there was no way to really go around it and change it. And by then, we had everything locked in with all the student workers and everything, and so it was okay, you're gonna have to figure out how to bum this out. So when I could find 15 minutes during my shift, the way I would go and hide in the back and try to get a quick little power nap in for 15-20 minutes, it was crazy. And the most work I had to do was that business law class, because I think I told you before in the other episode, that class, it was some work. But the good thing was, now that I had already taken it, I kept all the notes that I had from junior year, and 2 or 3 of my friends who already took the class and passed, I took all their notes too. And so when I tell you, I didn't even pay attention to the lecture, I just studied all the notes, and that's how I was able to pass the class and ace some of the exams, which was unheard of, because I told you, and one of them exams, I think I got a 14, I said, or something super low. So now it was okay, yeah, I went from a 14 to having the second or the third highest grade in the class, so what's up? And so business law was a lot of work, and volleyball, those were the 2 classes I probably hated the most. I can't remember what the other 3 classes were, but they weren't as cumbersome as the business law. And volleyball wasn't bad. The problem was just you were tired. So if you only had a few hours of sleep, because you got to think about it, if you get off at 4 in the morning and you have to be out the door by 7, you're not even really getting 3 hours of sleep. You have to be in class by 7, you're not even getting the 2 hours of sleep. It's you get in your room at 4:10, you put your head on the pillow, close your eyes, and it's already 6 o'clock. There was just no time to do anything. And you'd walk 8-9 blocks all the way to campus to the gym, and then you got to dress up. So you're already dressed up for the class, and now you get out there, you're tired, you're sleep deprived, and then the little professor, come on, let's go. I'm ain't no come on, let's go, I'm tired, this is stupid. How do y'all have this at 7 a.m.? What kind of nonsense? So that class was kicking my behind. I wasn't even focused. I couldn't even see straight sometimes because I was so tired. And so I ended up with a C in that class. I couldn't even try if I wanted to. And it was a 1 credit class. And I'm that class put me through it. I'm I got to go through all this for 1 credit. And really, I had a B the entire time until it was time for the final. And I blew the final. And so it dropped me down to a C. I was I don't even care. Just get me out the class. But, man, it was crazy. And so that whole period was just really gloomy. And then the other part was like my entire social circle was out. Everybody was back home living their best life. The only person that was there was Whitney, fortunately. So me and her, of course, we would chop it up when we had the energy or the time to, because she was working and doing her thing too. Like, she was also working in the dorm as a student worker, but she also had an internship. I don't remember where, but she had an internship. So when we did have a minute to catch up or hang out, we would. And usually that was the weekends if I wasn't asleep. Because listen, when the weekends came, I was in that room knocked out. Like, it was like you're catching up on 5 days of sleep. And it's interesting, you know, when you're a college student, you already don't really have a real schedule that you live by, especially during the regular school year, because your classes, you know, maybe Monday you might only have 2 classes, maybe Tuesday you might have 1, maybe Wednesday you might have 4. Like, your schedule goes up and down, so you never really get to develop an actual sleep pattern. And it's the same thing in the summer. My summer was probably the most concrete time that was set as far as my classes, because nothing ever changed. However, now I don't have enough time to sleep, so the weekends I was in there knocked out. And it didn't help that at this point I was pretty much going through a really bad depression, because for some reason that breakup was really just messing with my head for some reason. And I think because when it initially happened, I didn't really address it right then and there, because I had Rest Fest to deal with, and that was really taking up all my time. And then I was still distracted and hanging with all my friends, so all was good. And then when Rest Fest ended, and I didn't have something to put all my energy into, and then my friends all went, you know, home for the summer or went to do whatever they did, and now it's like, okay, it's me in this dorm by myself. I had a lot of time to think, a lot of time to just sit and soak in it, which it was the worst. And I mean, when I tell you, I was so dramatic at that time. I would just sit in my room with the blinds closed, no light in the room. I had all these depressing playlists set up with, you know, just the super sappy, sad songs. I used to always play this song by Tweet called Drunk, where she has this line where she's like, I'd rather be drunk than drown in my tears. And I was going through it. And then I used to always play Life Jennings' Goodbye and Let's Stay Together, like Life Jennings' version. Al Green's was cool, but Life Jennings had the grit and the growls in it. I felt everything he was saying. And then, what else did I used to play? Oh God, I used to play a bunch of Tony Braxton had this song called Happily Unhappy. I was in there going through it. And then on the weekends, because there were some days where we didn't have class, fortunately. There was like a day or two where there was like something going on and I didn't have to go to class. And so some of those days I would just, you know, if I wasn't catching on sleep, I would go on long walks at night. You know, it would be 10, 11 o'clock at night, and I'm walking by the monuments with my little earphones on. Then I go sit on a bench somewhere. I'd be sitting by like the Jefferson Memorial or the Martin Luther King Memorial wasn't ready yet, and they were still constructing it. But you know, where they had done the groundbreaking in that area, I just kind of sit around there, or I just find random spots and I just sit out there with my little headphones. Midnight, it's pitch black, you know, it's dark outside. I'm sitting with all these little sappy, sad songs and everything. And I mean, I was going through it. And Whitney used to have to literally come in my room and like open my blinds, like, Negro, did you even take a shower today? I'm like, no, what's the point? It's just, it doesn't matter. She's not coming back. And she, man, what are you, like, fool? If you don't, okay. And so, like, it was a lot. And I think what it is, you know, when you break up with somebody and those emotions come in, because with breakups, like I said, you're not in control. If the breakup wasn't a mutual thing, or if it was more so them saying they don't want to be with you anymore, you know, you're not in control of that situation. And so it drives you crazy, because you may want that person back and there's nothing you can do about it. You can write all the letters and everything, but if you blocked, if they not responding to the text, or if they do respond to the text and it's a one-word response, or it's K, you know, you say something, they just put K, you're like, damn, oh God, you know, you're just in your feelings. And the thing I remember I would try to go to sleep all the time, because I'm like, at least when I wake up I'll feel better. But then I wake up and feel the same way. I'm like, dang. And so I always say with like breakups, there's nothing that heals it but time. It's time. And I think that's the part that sucks. That time period of just getting over it is so draining. And for me, I think what made it even more dramatic is like, okay, all the friends are gone. I'm getting no sleep. I'm in all these stupid classes I don't want to be in. I'm working a slavery shift that makes no sense, and it has to be against some kind of law and everything like that. Mind you, I started losing a lot of weight, and I done told y'all before, I'm skinny already. So now, you know, I'm barely getting enough time to just do simple things, and I was still eating because I had a 2-hour break in between all the classes. So of course, you know, in between the classes, if I wasn't taking a nap somewhere, I was eating. But, you know, which brings me to this story. One of these days, somebody tried to rob me while I was coming back from like a meal, like my lunch between one of the classes. So I have just left I don't know what class it was. I think it was like a statistics class or something. I just left that class and I had a 2-hour break before I go to business law. And at the time, business law was my bread and butter. That was the main class I needed to ace because that's really going to be the one that carries some weight, and I need that as a prerequisite, as a requirement to graduate and everything. And so I went to like Farragut North, which is maybe a few miles from campus. Like you get on the train and there's some restaurants between Farragut North and like DuPont Circle. And it's the summer. It's probably July and it's hot. I got my music on and I walk fast too. Like I walk fast with some purpose with my music on, especially if it's the right song. I'm over there marching with the music. I'm walking and I feel like there's somebody following me. Mind you, it's 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I feel like somebody's following me. And I'm like, nah. So I keep walking. And I've been walking for at least, 10 or 15 minutes because I just ate. I think I went to Daily Grill, which was my favorite spot, which is funny because I ended up meeting my next girl from there. This girl, Tavana, that was a server there. That's another story in itself because Tana May always called her Tata Tatina. But anyway, I was leaving Daily Grill, and so I'm walking, and it's hot as I don't know what. And I finally get to like a crosswalk where you have to stop, and this guy taps my shoulder. And so I turn around like, huh? And I got my headphones on. And he's mouthing something. So I'm like, what? So I take my headphones out. And he's like, I need you to turn your music down. And I'm like, huh? Why? He's like, you got to give me everything in your wallet. And I'm sitting here like, huh? And now some people would be like, oh my God, I'm being robbed. Here, you help. And I'm like, wait a minute. So listen, at this point, it's been a few weeks into this summer session. I am pissed off at the world. I'm exhausted. I'm depressed. I'm hot. I'm stressed. I got a stupid class I got to go to that I don't want to go to. I'm trying to graduate. It's a lot going on. And what do you mean you need? And so my energy was wrong. And I'm like, wait a minute. Did you just, first of all, are you that fool that followed me all around here this whole time? Secondly, who tapped somebody and asked them to turn their music down before they rob them? Thirdly, it's 2 or 3 in the afternoon. We are in DuPont Circle with all these white folks. You think I'm about to let you rob me in front of all these people? So I'm looking at him and I was like, listen, we got to do this another time. I got to get to business law because I got an exam and stuff I got to take. So we got to do this another time. And so I just walked off and nothing happened. But I could tell something was off with him already because, if you were about it, he should have clocked me upside the head with a pistol or something. You don't nicely tap on somebody's shoulder to rob them. What kind of crap? We're not in the UK. Sorry, no disrespect to my followers in the UK. But I was just like, no. So something was off with him. He might have been on something, try to rob me at 2 in the afternoon. I'm literally standing next to people walking poodles and carrying Starbucks cups and skating and riding bikes. You ain't about to rob me over here. Not over here, no dang Farragut North DuPont Circle. Get out of here. Now, if we were still on Georgia Ave, and I'm talking about Georgia Ave circa 2009, not 2018 Georgia Ave with all the nice little bars and horse trolleys and everything else they got now. No, I was like, yeah, you gonna have to try this another day. So I was like, yeah, come back another time. And then he was sweating. He out of breath too. I'm like, hey, you gonna rob me and you ain't even in shape to do it. Kind of nonsense. Because at this point, I'm in like really good shape because of all the walking. Because like I said, I'm doing like, I think every day, because sometimes I would go back to the dorm rather than hang around campus, because sometimes I'm like, F this, I will walk back that 8 blocks just to get that 45-minute nap in because I need it. And so literally, some days I was walking 20 plus blocks a day. Sometimes it might have been up to like 30 if I went somewhere for lunch and everything, because you're still taking the train, you're still walking. Like, I was getting it in. I was in really good shape. And like, even when Res Fest had ended, when we were still doing Res Fest, we were practicing 5-6 days a week, and some of those practices were 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. And so I was in really good shape as far as aerobic exercise. Like, I didn't really get winded too easily. I had it down. The only problem was my diet was trash because I just didn't have enough time to really eat the way I should have been eating. But so some idiot gonna try to rob me. Nonsense. You don't get out my face. And then there were still some funny moments. The one I remember the most was, I don't know exactly what was going on with Mother Nature, but, Meridian sits on a corner next to a park. So the park is called, it was called Malcolm X Park. They started gentrifying stuff. It turned into Meridian Hill Park or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, so that big old park is there, and then Meridian is also surrounded by these big giant trees. And so it had to be about July or maybe the end of June. And it's midnight. I'm working a night shift. It's me, the security officer that's there, and maybe 3 or 4 student workers and just some random people hanging out in the lobby. And so we're sitting there, and this random bug comes in. And I'm like, what kind of bug is this? And so the security guard kind of goes and he kind of kicks it back outside. And then I swear it's the same bug, and it walks back in. And we're like, oh, this one is just brave. Okay. So then he steps on that one. I'm like, oh, okay. He done watched Men in Black a few times. And so then another one comes. And we're like, what the heck? So then he goes and he gets a broom and sweeps it outside, and then another one comes. And mind you, it was weird. We couldn't figure out what it was, because it wasn't a roach, it wasn't a water bug, it wasn't a cicada. I don't know what it is. But anyway, it's like one after the other keep coming in the dorm. And then out of nowhere, it goes from it being one or two coming in to like 3 or 4 to like 5 or 6 to 20. And then before you know it, it's like 50 of these things coming in at the same time. And then it's like a whole wall. And I don't know what it was, but I don't know if they were coming from underground or coming out of the sewer, but it was hundreds of them just coming into the dorm. And fortunately, they were coming in very slowly. It was like they were casing out the place or something. And so, they're coming in slowly. Everybody's starting to freak out in the lobby. People starting to stand on top of the chairs and stuff. I done jumped up out of my seat. I done ran to the back office because I know Boss Man got some spray or something, because I'm about to light fire to all of these things. And so Boss Man, of course, he wants to be Mr. Organic. He don't got no Raid. He don't got any kind of real bug spray. He has some kind of organic brand of spray. We don't know what this crap is. And so I don't even know what it is. I just know I grabbed it. It was supposed to be some kind of bug spray. I just started spraying. And I went OD. Spraying everywhere. Man, listen, so we were good for like the first 5 seconds. And I mean, them bugs started dying and trying to go back the other way, and they were just getting stopped in the tracks and dying. And then out of nowhere, the fumes from whatever little Martha Stewart vegan spray that was, the entire lobby was like, we were all gonna die in it. You needed a gas mask to be in there because the ventilation wasn't strong. It's humid outside, it's muggy, the AC isn't really that great in the building at that time, and like you could not get the smell of the spray out of there. Like the smell was so strong. And I mean, we had to open doors, put fans in the hallway, which didn't help because then more of the bugs came in and they're just walking over their dead friends still trying to get in. I'm like, what do y'all want in here? There's nothing here. The roaches done took it all. And so, don't get me wrong, the dorms don't have roaches like that. It's a joke. But man, like it was the funniest thing. So then the officer, like we've gotten most of the smell out of there, but it's still strong. The officer want to act like he got asthma. Now he can't do his job. He got to go home early. I was like, you know what? I can't. But like, I don't know what kind of bugs those were, but it was the craziest thing because it was like a whole wall of them. And like that smell from that little diet, whatever spray that crap was, that smell stayed in that lobby for like 3 days. I was like, this is crazy. And I mean, I was trying to mop the floor and try to, get the smell out and everything. And the worst part of that, I had to sweep up all the bugs. Because old officer, after he was so big and bad, Men in Black step on the one bug, now he can't handle the fumes. Which, to be honest, folks, we probably would have died had we sat in there long enough. I had to sweep up all them bugs. There was so many of them. And then I didn't have nowhere to put them. Because somebody was like, don't put them in the trash. They might have eggs. And then the eggs gonna hatch. They're gonna climb out the trash. And so I just went and threw them out in the street. And I'm like, yeah. And so the cars just rolled over them. It was the nastiest thing. Hot mess. And then there was one night, I was getting some good sleep. I might have actually gotten 5 hours of sleep. I was in a good nod. And then out of nowhere, there's a bang on my door. Don't. I'm like, oh shoot, what's going on? And so I open the door, because of course, if you're the conference assistant, you're always on call anyway. Would something go down in the dorm, you gotta be the one to respond. And so I'm thinking it's something important. I open the door, and it's this girl that I know that's standing there crying. I'm like, oh shoot, dude. And it has to be 4 a.m. What's wrong? Oh my God, Mike, there's a mouse in my room. Huh? What? There's a mouse in my room. And I'm looking at her like, yo, it's 4 a.m. You really waking me up about a mouse? Like, I'm looking at her like, honestly, just go back to sleep. By the time you wake up, it'll be gone. That's what I wanted to say. And so the thing was, I'm not afraid of a lot of things. I'm not really afraid of bugs other than roaches. I'm not afraid of mice. I'm not afraid of snakes. I'm not afraid of spiders. I'm not afraid of a lot of things. And so I was always the resident assistant who got all the mice when I was at Howard. And so even the people who were there during the summer knew I'm the mouse person. If you got a problem, because the problem was they were renovating one of the embassies across the street from the dorm, and with all the construction and everything, a lot of the little field mice and stuff were living under the buildings and under the foundation and walking through the pipes and stuff. And so all the construction and the drilling and the hammering just made all the mice come to our dorm. And so we started having an issue with mice in the building. And so, and I mean, it was little tiny mice too. And so I'm like, okay, fine. And I was so pissed because I was finally getting some sleep. So I go in there, I open this girl's door. First of all, her room is like the set of Hoarders. Everything that could be on the floor was on the floor. Food wrappers, half-eaten food, drawers, trash bags, everything you could think of was on the floor. I mean, stuff that you couldn't even identify was in that room. And I'm looking at her like, you woke me up out of my sleep when you know I don't even get any time to sleep. because you want to sit here and pretend that you got a standard for living, acting like you one of the royals drinking tea and crumpets all day. And mind you, your room is over here looking like the Setter Survivor. Like you got to go on a scavenger hunt just to get through that MF. I was so pissed off, and I'm looking like I don't even know where to look because I'm scared to walk in here myself. You know, I ain't scared of a whole lot, but I was scared walking in that room. And like, so I'm like, okay, well, where did you last see it? And she was like, over there. She points, and I'm just looking at the pile of clothes, and I'm like, oh Lord, I know it's in that pile of clothes. Because mice, I've learned, they like to hide in like piles of clothes and stuff because it's warm. And so I was trolling her, so I was like, yeah, go on over there, start pulling each item of clothes and just put it on your bed and then see if it jump out. She's like, no, I'm not. I'm like, I'm just playing, man, I'm just playing. And so fortunately, I was like, I'm gonna be right back. I gotta go and get like a few of those little sticky traps and everything. And she's like, no, don't leave me in here. I'm like, half of that mouse probably been in the room for 3 days and you ain't even know it. You just now saw it because it was probably eating something and made some noise. But that mouse been living in there with a few friends and you wouldn't notice because this room's so nasty. So I leave real quick. I go and I get like 3 or 4 of those like sticky traps because that's all the dorm has, which I hated getting because those are the ones where the mouse runs on the paper and then they can't get off. I always feel bad for the mice because I don't have a problem with mice. I don't want them in my house, but I don't want them to be stuck on the paper forever either because it's not like you can take them off. You try to take them off, it's like, I don't know. One time though, I remember my junior year, there was like this mutant mouse that got on one of them traps and I watched him rip his whole arm off just to get off. I was like, oh hell no. Like, y'all, we gonna do something about this one. Put that one down the trash chute on the other side of the building, not the one by my room. But anyway, so I put all these stupid traps down and like we're trying to map this thing out because she's like, I saw it last go into that pile of clothes. I'm like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. I was like, I'm gonna start pulling the clothes out of the pile, and I'm pissed I gotta touch these clothes. You know, I'm so bougie I went and got a glove because I don't know if she clean or not. And you know, I got a glove and I'm over here like just throwing the little items of clothing on the bed, and I know eventually this mouse is gonna jump out of here somewhere because the pile of clothes was like 2 feet tall, like 2 feet high. And so she got all her clothes for May and June on the floor. It's July now, we getting ready to go to August. And so I'm over here throwing all these clothes, and out of nowhere, by the time I get halfway through the pile, you just see this little thing jump out. She screams, halfway chokeholds me to pull me down. I'm like, no, because the plan was when it jumps out, she was gonna put the trap down in the path of wherever it runs, and I was like, she was gonna have to do it really quick because it was like it's gonna run, and mice move really fast, especially those little field mice. So I was like, as soon as you see it jump out, put the traps down. There was already like 2 traps on the floor, but I was like, try to make it so he can't go anywhere past us without getting stuck on one of these traps. And I'm like, the plan is when it jumps out, put the trap down and go, and everything like that. Put the trap down in the path of it. Now she done gave me a chokehold. I'm over here suffocating. She done pulled me down. We done dropped the trap. One of the traps is stuck on my jeans and everything like that. And so I'm like, well, there's that. The mouse done ran past my foot. Now it's under the bed. Now she's on top of the bed crying. I'm like, yo, I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm tired. I got class in like 40 minutes. What you doing? Like, I gotta go take my shower and I got volleyball soon. Like, come on, because we've been in this room for an hour. And so eventually, we're able to get the stupid little mouse out. The mouse ends up running. It tries to go into one of the vents and get stuck in the trap. I'm like, thank God. I get it. She over here crying, doing all this other stuff. I'm mad at her because, look, I got a sore throat, her trying to choke me and everything like that. She done messed up my thyroid. And, so yeah, that was the mouse. And man, I tell you, I'm sure my team, we lost every volleyball game in that class that morning because I was out of it, man. And the thing that sucked was we were graded by game. So depending on how many games you won, determine what your grade was in addition to what you got on the exams. But I was like, listen, I'm sorry, y'all. I ain't get too much sleep last night because I had to play Legends of the Hidden Temple chasing a mouse. So I don't know what to tell you. But man, and then the other thing that I couldn't stand about that summer was that I had to move within the dorm 3 times. They were doing renovations on all the different floors, floor by floor. And so initially I was on the 6th floor. I was staying in the same room I had from when I was an RA the year before. So I was in 636. And then they moved me down the hall to 645 to the other RA room because they were starting to renovate my floor. Then they moved me down the floor. I had to go down to the 5th floor. And then I think I was in like 545. I'm like, goodness. Then I had to go up to the 8th floor to 845. I mean, they would just bounce me around. And it's not fun moving when you have to do it by yourself. Now, fortunately, I didn't have a lot of stuff. But man, here's the thing. My room was like super lit how I had it like set up. Cause I'd have all my music posters and everything everywhere. Like my room looked like a record store almost. Like I'd have all my posters and everything like that. I had a bunch of pictures and crap, and I had my little lava lamp and all my little sound equipment and stuff. Like my room, I liked my dorm room. My room was lit, especially at night. I put my little lava lamp on there, that crap hit reflector lights, red light special up in there all day, but just with a blue light. And man, so I was pissed I had to keep taking all that crap down. It was just a really crazy time. And I'm kind of jumping around because I'm trying to remember this summer chronologically, but things are popping back up in my head as I'm telling this story. And then I can't forget the day Michael Jackson died. So I remember it was a Thursday because it was June 25th. I will always remember. It was a Thursday. I had just got out of business law. And normally I would stay on campus after business law because business law was like my third class, and I had one or two more classes after that. And for some reason, I went back to the dorm that day just because I'm like, I'm gonna take a nap or something. So when I got there, I just happened to turn on the TV, and this was like not too long after he had announced that he was gonna be going back on tour and everything, which is gonna be pretty cool. And at this point, they were already making plans to possibly bring the show to the United States. So we're like, oh, this is gonna be really dope. And now if you don't know, y'all know I always gas up Janet, but don't get me wrong, I love Michael just as much. So I was really into Michael and Janet. And so, I get home, I turn on the TV, and they're talking about Farrah Fawcett. She was the actress that was when Charlie's Angels had died. I'm like, oh, that's sad. Oh man, that's too bad. Just laying down, and then next thing you know, they're like, Michael Jackson, cardiac arrest, huh? What? Wait a minute. And then initially I was like, oh no, this must be some paparazzi stuff. He's all right, he's fine. They always be making stuff. Sometimes them Jacksons be getting sick when it's time to tour. They be doing too much on stage, and their bodies just give out on them on occasion. He'll be okay. And then the news just kept getting worse and kept getting worse. And then, I'm starting to see people on Facebook saying he's dead. And, all of us are on Facebook fighting and cussing people out. Don't y'all be killing people off. Y'all need to stop saying that. If it isn't true, don't be putting that out there. Da-da-da-da-da. And everything like that. And so I also happen to have the radio. And now the radio's starting to play all these Michael Jackson songs. I'm like, listen, y'all need to quit playing. Y'all not going to kill off Michael today. Absolutely not. Y'all need to quit playing. And then, within an hour, they're like, no, he's gone. Michael Jackson has died. I'm like, are you... What? Are you sure? And the thing about it is, whether you like Michael Jackson or not, if you grew up in the 90s, if you were born in the 70s, born in the 80s, old enough to remember those eras, Michael Jackson at one point was so huge. He was just like, it was almost just reflex to hear him somewhere. It was just common knowledge or a common expectancy to just hear his music in the grocery store. Certain songs of his would just come on and everybody knew the words. If Beat It comes on anywhere, everybody in the building knows the song. That's not really one of my favorites, but I prefer Off the Wall Michael. Give me Get on the Floor Michael. That's the Michael I rock with. I'll even take PYT from Thriller because I still think PYT would have fit better on Off the Wall than Thriller, but whatever. And so, I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you serious? And then it's interesting because this was a time when I was really, really, I'm not going to say obsessed with a lot of my favorite entertainers, but I really, really supported them a lot, and everybody knew it. So now I'm getting all kinds of text messages, people checking to see if I'm okay. I'm like, y'all must think I'm loony, huh? Y'all think I'm crazy, which I'm like, I'm fine, y'all, I'm fine. And it was weird because I didn't go to my other classes because I'm like, I need to sit and let this process. I'm over here already halfway, not about to graduate. Now I'm taking days off to mourn Michael Jackson. Like, boy, if you don't take your behind the class. And so it was a really, really unique time period. And that same weekend, I was going to New York to hang with my friend in New York for the weekend. And so I remember we were in New York. And it's crazy because I feel like every time there's a major celebrity that passes, I'm always in New York. Because recently when Aretha died, I was in New York. I was in New York the morning she passed because I was at MTV for a taping. And I'm like, it's just crazy. But anyway, I remember New York was the perfect place to be because, of course, it's Michael music everywhere. Because I went to New York that Saturday. And, they, at this point, it's been 2 or 3 days, but they had Michael music playing everywhere. His pictures all on, in Times Square, and the radio still playing all the stuff. And it was a really crazy time. And I remember when I got back to the dorm, when it was time for the funeral to air, I remember all of us, we were all in the dorm watching it around the TV. Because I think, I want to say the funeral came on a Saturday. I can't remember. Well, either way, I know I wasn't in class. So, I remember the funeral came on. We were all in that room watching it. It was just really interesting. And it was crazy because it was me, it was some of the student workers, it was the housekeeping staff. And a lot of them were older. A lot of them were in their 50s and 60s. It was some of the other faculty that were in the building. It was the maintenance people. It was at least 40 of us in the room all just watching it. Because I feel like when he died, the whole world just stopped. And even with the funeral, I feel like everybody watched it. And it was weird because, some people in the room were crying. I was like, it's crazy how when you get older, things just happen. You start to recognize that celebrities are human. And so that was a really unique time. Interesting. And then one of the funnier moments while I was in New York, I have a friend who has another friend who plays in a rock band. And so he invited us to his show, and he was like the bass guitarist. I'm like, okay, this would be fun, because I've never been to a rock show. Now, don't get me wrong, I like rock music. I've just never really gone to like a punk rock show. And so it was in some kind of underground club in Brooklyn. And it's funny because I had never seen a real mosh pit before. Now, at my high school, when we had the school dances, because our school is pretty diverse, you know, they play the hip-hop songs and they throw a rock song every now and then all the kids would do like a fake, softer version of a mosh pit, because if they started doing too much, you know, the staff would come and break it up. But this was the first time I got to see a real mosh pit in person. And listen, we're in this tiny nightclub. This nightclub is probably the size of a 7-Eleven. It's not really that big. Probably cut the 7-Eleven in half. That's how small it is. And so the way that it's set up, there's a stage, there's some open floor, and then past the open floor is a few tables and chairs with some little coffee tables and a few little candles. And so now I'm sitting here, and so our friend's friend, he's in his band, and whatever they were singing about. And so so stupid. Anyway, the band is playing and they're resurrecting the dead or whatever they were doing, and I'm watching the people in the open space, which is the most entertaining thing, because literally they're just beating each other up. Like, they're literally knocking I'm trying to stop using profanity in these podcasts, but when I say they're just beating the mess out of each other, I mean they're laying each other out. Guys and girls. Girls getting knocked upside the head. Guys are running around doing high kicks and jumping and high jump. And I'm like, what kind of witchcraft is this? Like, it was the funniest thing. And then this guy starts in the corner of the front, starts spinning like he's a tornado. Like, he just literally has his arms out spinning, and whoever's in the way is getting hit. You know, like, remember those toys with like the drawstring, like you pull the string and then it winds up and they would spin or something? That was him. I'm like, yo, oh heck no, I'm glad I ain't up there, because he hit me. It's gonna be another kind of thing. Okay, it was giving me flashbacks of growing up in church, because there were certain people I knew not to sit by. Because listen, I grew up and our church was pretty Pentecostal, so there were certain people I knew not to sit by. I did not want to be in striking distance of them if they got excited and felt that they felt the spirit, because I mean they just hit and knock out everybody. That's what it was giving me flashbacks to. But anyway, so tornado spinner dude spinning, he comes really close to our table and bumps the table. Now there's two things going on in my mind. I'm looking at all these little coffee tables with the little candles on it, and then I keep thinking that, you know, there was a club in Rhode Island that literally just had like 100 people die because, you know, they had the pyrotechnics and people couldn't get out and the club burned down. So he spent a little too much for my liking and bumped our table. I'm like, nope, I'm not doing it. When I tell you I got up and went to each table and I blew out each candle, because I'm like, we not about to burn up in here because y'all want to act like, nope, I'm not about to, this would not be how I die. I refuse. Absolutely not. And so I went and I blew out each candle on all the tables, because I don't know, everybody was just acting like one of these candles couldn't fall over and start a fire, especially with all the alcohol and stuff that was spilled on all the tables. I'm like, y'all don't watch enough of Forensic Files and Dateline in 2020. Y'all, what world y'all be living in? And so the concert was actually pretty cool. I had a little bit of a headache, but I did enjoy the show. It was entertaining. I can at least say I went to a punk rock show, so I've lived a little bit. What's up? But man, it was funny. And then around this time, because I think I'm kind of jumping around, but later down the line, eventually I finished these terrible classes. I mean, I've passed them all with the grades I need, finally. And so the last maybe week before the summer is over and we get ready to go back into school year mode, you know, I have a week to kind of like debrief and not have to do as much work. And, you know, and I'm still dealing with a little depression. It hasn't gone anywhere. It was so bad. I used to write all these Facebook notes. Remember Facebook had notes? I would write these long Facebook notes, like whole poems and everything like that. And then I remember I would upload a sad picture to go with the poem. I find a picture where I just look like I'm miserable or something like that. And because we were still Facebook friends, I'm like, I know they see it. I know she sees this and everything like that. And then some days I would go to my Aunt Queen's house, because like, remember my Aunt Queen lived down the street, and so she always had a room for me when she had it. So I remember I'd go to her house and just try to escape. It was a lot going on, but it was crazy. And so one of those weekends I went to Savannah to visit my grandma, because I'm like, you know, grandma's house, grandma always makes you feel better. And so this is before my grandma had got sick, and so I just went for a few days, and my cousin Brandon just happened to be there, and I was like, thank you goodness, because again, for me, Savannah is my serenity. I just enjoy it. There's a nostalgia for my childhood that even when I go there today, it's different, because, you know, my grandmother's house we don't really use anymore. It's still there, but after she died 8 years ago, we don't really, grandma's house is not the place to meet anymore. But there's just something about Savannah that just makes me feel whole. And so, you know, I had some time in Savannah. it's cool. One of the other things that kind of sucked though, like when I got back, I remember I was getting ready to turn 21 because I have a birthday in August, and it sucked because I didn't have anybody to celebrate it with. Whitney was there, but Whitney, I think, had to work that day. And so I spent my 21st birthday with myself. I was like, dang, this sucks. And then that was like the first time I actually had a drink, because I didn't drink. Even as a freshman, sophomore, junior, I had no desire to drink, just because I had to babysit too many people. And when I was a resident assistant, there were too many people that got, dropped off while they had blacked out, and then we got to call 911, or, they got alcohol poisoning. And then freshman year, of course, with all the people I had to babysit and folks throwing up in your trash can, I was like, I'm good on this. Plus, I was already the life of the party anyway when I was sober. So I was like, I just never had a desire to drink. So I remember I went out, I treated myself to some restaurant, and I remember I got a mojito, which is like the lightest thing you can get, but at the time I thought it was just like straight acid because I never really drank before. And so I remember I'm taking these little sips, and I had just always been told that alcohol was like so terrible and it burns your insides and it's just straight poison. And so I couldn't even finish the mojito, y'all. I'm like, yo. And it's funny because about 2 months later we were twisted just about every weekend. Wait till we get to that senior year, my goodness. And then the odd thing is now I'm on this journey to actually stop drinking. Now I don't have a problem with drinking or nothing. I don't need it. I recognize that I only drink socially, and when I do drink, it's like once a month. So I was like, I might as well go ahead and cut it out anyway. So yeah, I don't really drink anymore. Maybe every blue moon. But anyway, so around that same time period, I remember a few friends that were like, some of the student workers were like, oh, we're gonna take you out for your birthday. I'm like, oh, okay, y'all are like a week late, but okay, let's go turn up. And so our version of turning up was karaoke in IHOP. And so it was funny because we go to IHOP, which was already funny because we went to, I forgot what part of town it was, but it was a different kind of IHOP, because we went in that IHOP, they didn't even have uniforms on. They was just in their regular clothes working up in there. I'm like, yo, where we at, y'all? And so we're in IHOP. And on the receipt, there was this thing that said, if they mess up your order, you get a free ice cream. And so initially, it was a group of like 6 of us. And so we get there and they do the order and everything. We have our food and we get our receipt when everything's done. And so we're like, oh, can we split it? So they split it into 6 checks. Now, initially, the receipt was fine the first time, but when they split it, the receipts got messed up. So one of my friends was like, oh, well, no, wait a minute, because y'all said we get free ice cream if y'all do this wrong, so I'll be taking my free ice cream, thank you. And then the server was like, no, you not, because it was right the first time. And I'm like, oh, Lord, y'all about to cut up on my birthday. And then, because I already knew the kind of person that they were, like, whoa, what you mean? First of all, it already said that if y'all messed it up, I get my free ice cream scoop, so I want my free ice cream scoop. And I'm looking at him like, yo, we don't gotta do it. Like, yo, it's just some ice cream. And the server was not backing down. She's like, look, I already said it was fine before. Y'all the ones too cheap to figure out how to pay it on one card. Y'all the ones asking me to split the bill at IHOP like y'all some more expensive. So no, you're not getting no ice cream, because I said we're not doing that. We made it right the first time. Had y'all not been all super picky, asking for a split check, it wouldn't have been messed up, because if y'all had it together and y'all knew how to manage one check with one card, we wouldn't have to go through all this. And I'm sitting here like, what kind of IHOP is this? What are we getting cussed out for? I'm sitting there with my little birthday crown on, and my friend is over here cussing out the server. It was the funniest thing. And so eventually, I don't remember what happened, but they ended up getting their ice cream, and it was so bad because then they want to say, because I go to Howard. I'm like, no, don't tell them where we go to school. You want to sit there and be all snobby and cuss the people out. Don't tell them we go to Howard, because now every time they see somebody else from Howard, they're going to side eye. I'm like, don't do that. So after the IHOP shenanigans, we went to Gladys Chicken and Waffles. It's not even there anymore, but it used to be in Largo, Maryland. And I remember we hit that karaoke. Yo, we was in there all night till it was closing. It was a good time too, because it was there was this girl, Yolanda, that was with us, and that girl could sing, like sing. Oh, she got it in. I remember she sang Lisa Fisher's How Can I Ease the Pain. She killed that mess. And but it was a whole lot of fun. And it was kind of cool because there wasn't a lot of people in there, so literally we just got to hold the whole place hostage. And you know my overachieving behind you. You couldn't get me off the stage. I remember I sang, what did I sing? I don't even remember. I sang something. It was good though. I know it was good. I sang a few times, but that was a lot of fun. So it was kind of unexpected because I was hanging with people I didn't normally run with. So I was like, okay, this is cool. Let me live out of my shell a bit. So it was fun. But there was one last major setback. So at this point, It is literally the last week before people start coming back to campus to move in. Some of the RAs have already started coming back this week, so I think Tanae was on her way back that week. Nick was on his way back, because pretty much all the RAs from the year before came back again. Like, we were all going to be in the same dorm, minus like 2 or 3 people, and there was some new faces in the mix. I didn't realize just how hard I had been working that whole summer. You know, from pretty much the end of May until the beginning of August, I was really just on the go, never stopping. Minus, you know, aside from that little trip to New York and that trip to Savannah in a weekend or 2, I was literally on the go all the time. Sleep deprived. I wasn't really eating that well. You know, and then you still had homework, you still had exams you had to study for. And again, I'm somehow managing and working a shift from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. And so I lost so much weight. My skin started to really get really bad. Like, you guys know, I'm very transparent about my acne. My acne goes back and forth. Right now, I'm in a good spot. Like, I'm at a space where I can take a picture and not have to make no edits. Like, I can, you know, it's pretty mellow right now. But at that time, it started getting really bad. And it's crazy because my junior year, my skin was actually really, really good. I didn't have to use medicine or anything. And so everything was really aligned. But this is around the time that my facial hair started trying to come in. And so, you know, you start getting ingrown hairs. And then, you know, I didn't really understand about petroleum being really bad for your skin as far as hair grease. So I was using the wrong hair grease and everything like that. So it was lots of things going on. And so my skin was getting really, really bad. But I lost so much weight. And I had a friend that had just transferred into Howard that I grew up with back from home. And so I remember they were sick. And they had asked me, because they didn't get housing. They were going to be staying at some house like close to campus, but not close to where I was staying. And they had asked me, they had asked me to do a store run. Could I get them something from the store? And so I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And so I remember I had walked, I don't even remember how long, it was pretty much just like walking back to campus, so walking like 8 blocks, because I'm that kind of friend. And so I remember I went and I walked and got all the stuff and, you know, made sure they were good. And then by the time I got back to my dorm, for some reason, like, my chest hurt so bad. And I'm like, I'll be fine. So I went and laid down, took some aspirin, and then the next day it still was feeling the same way. I'm like, why do I have like this pressure? Why does my chest hurt? I don't know. And so I was telling my mom about it. My mom was like, you need to go to the hospital right now. You might be having a heart attack. I was like, Mom, if I was having a heart attack, I'd have been dead by now, because this started yesterday. And so I was kind of tuning her out, and she's panicking because this is her baby talking about something may be wrong. And so she's sending me emails with PowerPoint slides about how to know if you're having a heart attack. I'm like, Mom, I'm telling you, I'm not having a heart attack. And so after like 2 days, because Tanae was like, yeah, you might want to go get checked out. I'm like, fine. And so I go to the student center, and I tell them, like, I just have, like, I don't know, my chest hurts for some reason. And so I'm in the student center, which is already interesting enough. If you're ever in a place with, like, if you're ever in an ER or any place where you got a bunch of people waiting for whatever conditions they have, it's the most entertaining thing. Just people watch. You will see all kinds of things. So I'm in there looking at people who got all kind of conditions. I know at least one of them had an STD because they could not stop scratching in that area. All kind of things going on. But anyway, they call me in there. I explained to the doctor what's going on. I'm like, I don't really know. You know, my chest just feels weird. It hurt really bad yesterday. It kind of hurts today. It's not as bad as yesterday, but I don't feel like myself. So, you know, he goes and he gets the little gadget that they put on your chest. What is that? Stethoscope. I always say that weird, but yeah, he gets that thing. And so he puts it on my chest. And so he starts looking. Then out of nowhere, he runs around to the other side. He puts it on my back and he starts listening again. Then he puts it back on the front chest and he listens again. He's like, wait a minute. Then he calls in some other person and then they listen. And out of nowhere, the entire mood switches. They're like, whoa, we need to get an escort right now. Escort, huh? And so here's the fortunate thing. The student center is literally next door to Howard University Hospital. So literally, they rush me down the stairs with the campus police officer. They put me in the back of the campus police car. I'm like, am I going to jail? Wait a minute, what's going on? And so the campus police officer puts on little sirens. I'm like, what is going on? And then they take me straight to the hospital because nobody's telling me what's going on. I go straight into the ER. And then as soon as I get out, and mind you, I'm not on a stretcher. I'm walking out of the car, and the doctors have met me at the door. They're walking me over there, and they start asking me a million questions. You know, what's your family history? Does your mother have a history? Does your dad have a history? Does so-and-so have a history of heart disease? I'm like, yo, what is going on? And then the other person's already like wiping and prepping my arm to start drawing blood. I'm like, yo, calm down, everybody. And so they start drawing blood, and I done told y'all I done lost weight, and I probably didn't eat that day yet at the moment. So by the time he took the second tube of blood, I'm lightheaded. I'm halfway passed out while I was trying to put on the gowny thing. And so they didn't have to actually carry me to the bed because I literally could not walk for some reason. Like that little bit of blood they drew, because I battled with anemia too back and forth. And so it must have been really bad that day. And so I was out of it. And so this is what happened. So when he went to measure my heart rate, my BPM was 21. The average BPM of somebody, and that's just beats per minute, is 60 to 100. Mine was 21. And so they thought that my heart was stopping because they're like, how, this is unheard of. 21 beats a minute. That's like your heart is going boom, boom. Like it's not even like a doop, 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 doop. Like, so they didn't know what was going on. So that's why they rushed me straight to the ER. And so I don't know what the rush was, because sitting in that ER for 11 hours before I saw a doctor, I would have been dead anyway. Howard University Hospital is also county community hospital. So, got a lot of stuff going on over there. And so by the time they finally got to me, like the doctor made me do all of these different exercises because they just wanted to see if my heart would go back to a normal rate if I did a lot of exercise. So they made me lay on my back and kick my legs as if I was on a bicycle and like pedal my legs, and then they made me like do some jumping exercise. They made me do a bunch of crazy things. And mind you, at this point I was over it because I had been in there for like 10-11 hours before the doctor came to me. They gave me a bed when I first got in, and just had me sitting there, and I'm in the ER, and the way that their ER was set up is like you're in a room and there's like 12 or 13 other beds, so it's a big circle. You can see everybody in there, and the doctor will go around the circle. And because I don't know why I thought mine would have been urgent since it was a heart thing, but I guess there was a few people in there who had other things going on. Maybe somebody might have overdosed and needed the anecdote to whatever they took and all that kind of stuff. So all those people were priority first. And so there would be a nurse or somebody come and check in on me every hour or two, but nobody was really telling me everything. But yeah, so they made me do all these different exercises, and so it was determined that once I explained to them what I had been doing the last 2 months, they're like, okay, this makes sense. They pretty much told me that you are in such great shape that your heart can do in 21 beats what somebody else's right now needs to do in 60. They're like, because of all of the walking you do and the muscle memory your body already has from all the dancing you do and the fact that you're constantly on your feet and everything else like that, your heart, it doesn't have to work as hard because you're just in that kind of shape. And then because you weigh so little at the moment and you're so small, your heart isn't working as hard as it has to. But they did tell me the thing I need to worry about is, one, I need to eat better, and two, I need to cut my stress levels down because my blood pressure was a little off. That's what made them. So it was the low heart rate and the high blood pressure that freaked them out. And so they didn't give me any medicine or nothing. They just were like, okay, you'll be fine, but you're gonna have to slow down. So fortunately, things were aligned because I was already done with my classes. All of the school stuff as far as the senior year wasn't gonna start for another week and a half. So I had a few days to kind of relax, fortunately. So it's a good thing it wasn't anything too serious, but it was a little creepy at first. Because they literally they didn't say anything. They just started rushing. There was a sense of urgency. I didn't know what was going on. And so I remember afterwards, I think I got out of the hospital like 1 or 2 in the morning. And then I still walked to the door because at this point the metro's closed, and they told me I did need to slow down on how much, all that walking and stuff was great. But they're like, you need to make sure you have food to balance all that you're trying to put on your body. So yeah, but pretty much, I don't want this to go on because we could sit here and talk about that summer all day. But long story short, it was a summer that was very, very, it was uneventful as far as good things. But goodness, the good thing is, I feel like I'm built to deal with anything. Because after that summer, there was nothing you could tell me. After I did all that slavery work and working crazy hours and taking all them classes and then still acing the classes, I was like, yeah, you are one bad MFer. Good for you. But I don't suggest that kind of arrangement for anybody though. It's unrealistic. I don't think I could physically do it now because I'm older, but when you're like 21, your body's it's more, you can do just certain things that you can't really do. Now that I'm a bit older, that's probably it wouldn't work as well, but I don't know. I just needed to do what I needed to do to get to where I needed to be for that moment. Looking back, I honestly would have just done a 5th year if I could have skipped that summer, because I think even if I would have done a 5th year, I would have had a better time planning and figuring out exactly what I wanted to do when I graduated, because we already heard my story of what happened when I graduated. My stuff wasn't together and I had to be unemployed for a year and a half. And I think, had I had a 5th year to really focus in on what I should have been doing, things would have aligned a lot better initially. Because I think with that summer, I was just so pressed to graduate on time. I still wasn't even thinking about what happens after the graduation. Graduation is one piece, but what's next, you know? And it's funny because I tell my high schoolers that all the time. I'm like, you guys are all counting down to when you turn 18 and move out the house or graduate from high school, but I'm like, that's when life begins. You know, that's when everything first starts. So if that's your only goal, you're setting yourself up because you're gonna get to that goal, and then what's next? And so that's pretty much, if I could do it again, I honestly would have just done a 5th year, honestly. But yeah, that summer, it was an experience. As far as the depression, it decimated over time, just little by little. It was really the time that balanced things out. It probably took me another 8 or 9 months before I was feeling like myself. But each day got better over time. And I think with, my friends being back on campus and classes, starting, and me having things to do, and my time wasn't all just focused on that anymore because I didn't have a lot of time with myself. Which I'm not saying if you're going through something you should just try to repress it and spend your time around other people, because eventually you still have to be with yourself at some point, and so you still have to face what it is that you're dealing with. But I think for me at that moment, because I spent that whole summer with myself, and I didn't get to be with myself when I was at my best because I'm drained with no sleep and stressed with classes and stuff like that, it didn't help anything. I think when you're dealing with certain situations and you do need that time to be with yourself to just process things, you gotta already be at your best with everything else. If all of that's already a mess, you can't bring more mess to the mess and think the mess is gonna start getting better internally, you know what I mean? And so that was that, but things aligned, and I'm not even gonna lie, it opened windows and doors to some other nonsense I shouldn't have got myself into. Because listen, the funniest thing is, I like that TV show Insecure. And remember Lawrence, how he had his whole phase where as soon as Issa cheated on him and he went out and just started messing with all these random girls on the side. Like, listen, I had like a good 3 or 4 months where I was just having a great time. Just having a great grand old time. Goodness. But anyway, we'll get to senior year later. So that's my podcast. Until next time.